CNN interviewed a farmer a couple days ago, soybean farmer. Let's see what he says.
You know, be patient. The farmer's going to be better than ever. Well, you better hurry up, because we can't stand this much.
That was Franz Roland, a farmer here in southern Georgia. He's been farming for more than 40 years, but he said the last year has been one of the most difficult ever.
With the prices like they are today, we're not going to make any money. We just try to figure out a way to not lose so much. We've lost our market share, our trade to China. I don't know who dropped the ball in Washington to allow these prices, this trade to diminish like it has. But somebody dropped the ball. Somebody wasn't looking out for us.
Supposedly, this man has been farming for 40 years, and he says he doesn't know who dropped the ball to cause your market share or your market to China to effectively dry up. So one of two things are happening here. One, he genuinely doesn't know, and he's a dumbass. But considering he's been farming for 40 years and running a business in this farm for 40 years, I'm not going to assume he's a dumbass. It's possible, but I'm not going to strip him of his agency in that way. I'm going to go instead to the second possibility. He knows Trump is to blame. He does not want to blame Donald Trump because he likes Donald Trump. So therefore, he's willing to give him an excuse for his ignorance and his failure. Would he have given Biden the excuse? No. Would he have given Kamala Harris the excuse? No. But when it comes to this racist-ass white supremacist who shits his pants, who's sitting in the White House, yeah, he's willing to give him an out. This man is literally willing to shift blame away from Donald Trump to anybody else, just so he can avoid making Donald Trump responsible for what's happening to him, despite the fact that Donald Trump is directly responsible for what's happening to him. I don't farm soybeans, and I certainly have not farmed soybeans for 40 fucking years, and yet, as a casual listener to the fucking news, even I knew China said deuces, my nigga. As a non-soybean farmer, I knew that China had shifted its agricultural importing from the United States to South America. How did you not know that? And I know why they did it. This is all because of what happened in 2018. 2018, your market share dropped significantly. I think it was like a 75% drop. It was insane when he instituted that first trade war and had to bail you out for $12 billion fucking dollars. Then over time, there was some slight recovery and trade went back up. In fact, they said in 2022, during the Biden administration, y'all made the most money y'all ever made in the last 10 years exporting to China. I think it was about $18 billion. And yes, I know exports are technically lower than 2020, but prices fluctuate. And this was the pandemic. Yep, about 18 billion, 2022. Here we go. Export markets for soybeans, 2017, 12 billion, I'm sorry. 12 billion, 2018, your trade war starts, he fucks you over, so your market share drops about 75% to 3 billion. 2019 goes up to 8 billion. 2020 goes up to 14 billion. 2021, another 14 billion. According to the soybean export highlights in 2021, you had your best year under Joe Biden at about 18 billion. And then 2023, it dropped down again to 13 billion. And then 2024, it dropped yet again to 13 billion. Then 2025 hits, he institutes trade tariffs. And apparently, China dropped their imports from the U.S. to zero. Let's read. A trade deal. This was an article from Purdue University in November 14, 2025. Trade deal between the United States and China announced in November ends the suspension of soybean imports. It includes a commitment for China to purchase 12 million metric tons of U.S. soybeans in the last 2 months of 2025 and at least 25 million metric tons annually through 2028. The agreement follows 6 months of near zero U.S. soybean exports to China amid retaliatory trade measures. So for 6 months, y'all weren't exporting shit, and he crashed your markets, and y'all needed yet another bailout. This was the second bailout he gave y'all. $12 billion bailout to keep you stupid motherfuckers afloat. Yes, I'm calling you stupid because you voted for him again. Despite the fact that he crashed your market in 2018, you voted for the man to crash your market again? I don't care how you slice it. That's dumb. That's real dumb. That's not smart. China is going to buy at least, that's your minimum, 25 million metric tons through 2028. So y'all got about 3 years. And that's fascinating. 25 million metric tons is 1 million metric tons less than you were selling in 2023. So even your worst years under Biden was still better than the trade agreement that Trump struck with China. Because somebody's gonna have to suffer for that 1 million metric ton loss in soybean exports. It's likely gonna be the smaller businesses. But after 2028, y'all are done. Meanwhile, the 6-month suspension that he instituted with his trade war led to Brazil to increase its exports to China to levels last seen in 2018. 2018, what was that? The last time he crashed your market, China decided to import from Brazil instead of the U.S. And y'all put him back in charge again. And then he crashed your market again. Who did they go to get their soybeans? Brazil. It gets worse because according to Reuters, as of January 20th, China has already bought 12 million metric tons of its U.S. soybeans, which is about half of what they said they were going to buy from us this year. The two major people who bought it was met by bulk purchases by two state-owned Chinese stock suppliers. The two state-owned Chinese stock suppliers were Sino Grain and Kofco. And these were the only buyers of U.S. soybeans from China. The private buyers continue to favor cheaper supplies from Argentina and Brazil. It goes on to say those two buyers aren't going to buy any more soybeans this year until the new crop, which is in about September, unless you manage to drop your prices to be competitive with South American soybean prices. So if y'all can drop your prices and be competitive with South American soybean farmers, they'll continue buying. But if not, they're just going to have to wait until September. And they're only pledging to buy another 13 million or so, because it's 25 million according to the trade deal. That's your minimum. Honestly, it might be your maximum at this point. So speaking about prices, apparently soybean futures hit $11 per bushel. The resulting cash price is still below the break-even point for many U.S. soybean producers in 2025. So how much is Argentina selling its soybeans for? So soybeans by weight is about 60 pounds in a bushel. Soybean prices on the low end is 11 cents per pound, and on the high end is about 11 cents per pound for the past 4 weeks. And as you can see, that's down significantly from 2022, where it was 17 cents per pound, and even 2024, when it was 13 cents per pound. So 11 cents per pound times 60 pounds. That's $6.60 per bushel. Argentina, over the last 4 weeks, is selling its soybeans at $6.60 per bushel. One more time. They were able to sell their soybeans for $11 per bushel to those two large state-owned conglomerates from China. But even that is below the break-even point for many soybean producers in the United States. And they're not planning to buy any more of your soybeans until September, because there's no way at $11 per bushel, which is below your break-even point, you can compete with Argentina and them that are selling them for about $6.60 per bushel. But y'all thought a trade war was smart. Y'all thought tariffs were smart, huh? Yeah, man. Yep. I do not feel bad for any of them because they knew who they voted for. I feel bad for the farmers who understood it and understood that he would be bad for business and didn't vote for this man. I feel bad for them. I do. But for those of you who voted for them, I genuinely hope you're the only ones to experience the loss. I hope the only farmers who make it through this are the farmers who did not vote for him. Imagine being so committed to your racism and your sexism, because that's what this is. I need to stop bullshitting. So committed to the racism and the sexism that you decide to re-elect the man who crashed your market the first time, and he proceeded to crash your market for a second time. And instead of you, at a minimum, being angry at him for doing it again, you want to sit up there and give him a fucking excuse. They will always cover for each other. You are not in a fair system at all. If you're a woman or a minority in this country or in this globe generally, but especially in this country, there's nothing fair about this system. There's no meritocracy, because the people who are at least supposed to hold you to it, they won't even hold you to it. They won't even hold him his own actions. They are willing to blame somebody else for the actions that this man caused. And you think you can get a fair shake with a bunch of white men like him who are in charge of all these businesses, who are willing to let other white men fuck them over, screw up their entire fucking lives, and will still give them yet another chance. How can you win in this system? Because that's exactly what's happening here. He knows exactly who's responsible, but he will not allow another white man like him to fail. He can't. Even though he's currently struggling and his business is on the line, his family's future is on the line, he is willing to provide cover so that that white man in the White House will not fail, because they have tied their egos together. His ego as a white man is tied to him, and if Donald Trump fails, then that must mean he's failing, right? And he knows that. That's why he will not allow that shit to happen. He will ignore all objective evidence to give that man a pass.